to learn how to do a very basic foundation paper piecing. This is our pattern. It is a 1-page, 1-shape pattern. So we only need to print 1 paper to make 1 5-inch square. We have this old vintage navy with polka dots, and this white with blue porcelain-like pattern. It's even got little birds and flowers. And these are the fabrics we're going to use today. Now, something before we start that I personally like to do that I find makes it easier is I like to take a highlighter, just a regular old highlighter, and mark out what color my squares will be. I find it makes it easier later on. I don't have to look at a chart or anything. So I want the middle square to be dark. So I'm just going to mark it because there's only 2 colors. One's going to be the white and one's going to be the dark. So I'm just going to mark my dark squares. Okay, so since for foundation paper piecing, we're going to be only looking at this side really, I find that marking the colors I'm going to use makes it way easier. So all of these squares with the highlighter on it are going to be my navy, and all the blank squares are going to be my lighter fabric. Okay, let's get started. We'll start by piecing A1 to A2. To make this easier, I have pre-cut a square for A1. Let's get started. So for foundation paper piecing, we take our paper and we're going to work on the back side of our paper and put our fabric up on the back side. Now, first thing I'm going to do, using the light on the sewing machine, which is easier to see in person, I'm going to align this flat edge 1/4 of the inch over the edge between pieces A1 and A2. Okay, so you probably still can't see it because the camera doesn't work that well, but it's hanging 1/4 inch over the edge, face up. Now you can pin it there for extra security. So it's 1/4 inch over and I've pinned it to my paper. Then I'm going to cut a piece off so that we can see it better. And I'm going to lay this on top so that both of the good edges are touching each other, the good sides. And I'm going to sew along that line. I'm going to flip it over carefully. And I'm going to bring it up to this. I'm going to take my pin out now. I'm going to bring it up to the line between 1 and 2. And I'm going to sew on the line. I prefer to use a really tight stitch for foundation paper piecing. So bring your machine down to either 1.6 or 1.8. I'm going to do 1.6 today. And we're going to stick our needle in and sew. You can sew a little over the line. So you can see our line now, and if we open it, we got a nice line on the inside. Here is the front of our fabric, looking fantastic. This needs a good press from an iron. Other than that, it's looking great. Next, I'm going to move the camera and show you guys how I cut my edges. This is what it looks like from the back. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4 sewing lines. And now here's how I get the next line ready to sew. So the next lines we have to sew, this next row is 6, 7, 8, and 9, and this is all in our dark fabric. So I'm going to, this is the line I'm going to sew at, right? You can see that's A6. It's upside down, but that's A6. So I'm going to lay my fabric on top of here and line it up with the edge of this fabric. And then you can pin it, or you can just hold it and sew along that line. So this is how I cut the piece. So you could see I got the whole fabric attached because I was too lazy to cut a smaller piece. But I'm going to press it nice and flat with my fingers, just a little finger press. And then I'm going to flip it over without wrinkling it, upside down. And I'm going to make sure the seam is nice. I'm checking the other side to make sure the seam is still at the right angle. I'm going to twist this around. Then I'm going to, and you can do this with a 1/4 foot. So I can take the 1/4 line on my ruler, line it up with the line that I'm going to cut at, because this is a piece I just added here. And I'm going to take this and fold the paper. Right, so you see there's a little crease in the paper now. And I fold it there. And that's a 1/4 inch seam away from the line I'm going to sew at next. Then I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I take my 1/4 line it up with the line on my square, fold, fold, put down my little quilting square ruler, and then I cut. So we didn't waste any fabric that way. And when we look at this side, look at how nice it looks. Now I can go in here and trim these little corners, but I'm just going to leave them for later. And it'll be fine. So I'm going to fast forward through all the rest, and you guys will see me get to cut all of these. Now, don't feel bad if you cut your paper. It happens to everyone. That's why I recommend using the quilting ruler. If it really annoys you, you could just tape it back up, but I'm not going to. Looking fantastic so far. I'm going to switch you guys back to the sewing machine cam so you can watch me sew all the rest of the pieces together. finish the square. So this is with the sides trimmed and with a good steam and press. You can see how crisp the edges are. And the back, all the seams are sewn. So now I'm going to show you how to remove the paper from the back. Now if you want to make a whole quilt out of paper piecings, you can leave the paper on until you have all the pieces sewn together. So you can sew along this line. Or you can just take the paper off now and sew a 1/4 inch seam when you sew your squares together, your blocks together. It's totally personal preference, but for this tutorial I'm going to show you how to remove the paper the easy way. So you can just go and start tearing away, but sometimes you can tear out your seams if you do that. So what I like to do is take a bottle of water and spray my paper. Get it not soaking wet, but you know, nice and damp. Nice and damp. So I'm going to let it soak in a bit. You could also do this with your iron, steam it until the paper is kind of soggy. And then, look, it just comes right off. And we're just going to remove all the paper carefully. If your paper gets stuck, just add a little more water in that spot. And this is how I remove paper without tearing out any seams. Okay, so when you get to the smaller pieces, what you can do is take like a toothpick and gently rub the paper away. And you're not stabbing your fabric at all, you're just gently rubbing it off. So I'm trying to keep the toothpick kind of parallel to the paper to keep from tearing my fabric or any seams out. And that'll make it super easy to remove any little pieces of paper. Our square is finished! It's 5.5 inches right now, but sewn together at the seams, it'll be a 5-inch square. It's looking beautiful. I pressed it a whole bunch with an iron. It needs some starch. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and leave a comment for more videos, and we'll have some new tutorials coming out soon. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye!